Our scripture for this evening comes from Luke chapter 14, verses 12 through 14. Today is an interesting day in history. It is a day to honor a person that you perhaps have never heard of. His name is Dr. Jonas Salk. The reason you may not have heard of him, though you have benefited from his work, is because he sought not to take credit, or at least not to have fame and fortune as a result of his tremendous breakthrough on the polio virus. Poliomyelitis, which is caused by the polio virus and is known as simply polio, affects the spinal cord. It causes debilitating disabilities for people and can even be deadly. On April 12, 1955, Dr. Salk announced a vaccine for the polio virus. Unlike some of the political shenanigans we see today, history tells us that there was much excitement and anticipation of receiving the polio vaccine. Because polio had done such a devastating job on the world, Dr. Salk could have literally made millions of dollars as a result of his breakthrough. But he felt that given the effects of polio, especially on children, that it was important to give this knowledge and this gift to the world and not to personally profit or benefit from it. We can appreciate that kind of selflessness because most people are not so altruistic or so giving. Think of this verse or these verses in Luke 14 as a reminder of the importance of sacrificing, serving, and sharing. In Luke 14 and verse 12, then he said also to him that bade him, when thou makest a dinner or a supper, call not thy friends nor thy brethren, neither thy kinsmen nor thy rich neighbors, lest they also bid thee again, and recompense be made thee. But when thou makest a feast, call the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, and thou shalt be blessed, for they cannot recompense thee, for thou shalt be recompensed at the resurrection of the just. Here Jesus gives an analogy, and he's trying to get people then, as well as us, to understand that in our lives we have opportunities to benefit from people, and they have opportunities to benefit from us. Some call it one hand washes the other. Some call it politics. Some call it doing favors. And yet Jesus challenges us to think in terms of doing for people who perhaps cannot benefit us. Now, he's not talking about enabling dysfunctional people to continue to be dysfunctional. He's not talking about helping sorry people who are not trying to do anything for themselves. He's talking about being a person like a Dr. Jonas Salk, and that is trusting that when you do what's right, and perhaps helping people who can never repay you or offer you anything in return, that the satisfaction comes in knowing that you have done the right thing. Many people are not willing to make sacrifices, they're not willing to serve, and they're not willing to share unless they can see something that is to their benefit. And Jesus says in this passage, in particular in verse 14, that we have to trust when we do what is right in our earthly sowing, that there will be heavenly reaping. I'd like to encourage you to take some time this week to think about what sacrifices can you make, what service can you give, who can you share with that may not ever be able to bless you, but you can trust that God will bless you, if not in this life, in the life to come. There's such a satisfying and rewarding feeling knowing that you have done something to enhance another person's life. And there's something enriching about the experience for them when they know that there's no strings attached, but you do it because God has poured his grace and kindness in your life, and you're willing to share that grace and kindness with someone else. Maybe it's some clothes, maybe it's some furniture, maybe it's an old car, maybe it's spending time with someone. You have something to give, you have something to share. Won't you bless somebody and watch how God will bless you? This has been another installment of A Few Minutes with the Minister.